Aloha and welcome back. Here we are, Chapter 11, Substance Abuse and Substance Abuse Treatment. Today in our country, probably 22 million people suffer from drug abuse and or drug dependence problems. Most of these people are addicted to marijuana. Currently, there is a dramatic increase of prescribed drug abuse. However, the use of psychoactive drugs is not new to the human animal. Men and women have been using drugs to change how they feel through all of recorded history. We have even prehistoric evidence that men and women used fermented grains and honey to produce alcohol. And psychoactive plants have been used in religious and medical rituals since the beginning of time. And most societies sanction some use of psychoactive substances. In Hawaii, for example, it is legal for adults to consume alcohol and nicotine and caffeine. And alcohol and caffeine and nicotine is regulated in Hawaii. Regulation means that there are rules and regulations set in place to say who can use these drugs, when and where, and how they can use them. And more importantly than all of that is the fact that these legal drugs are taxed, and the money derived from the use of these drugs is used for good purposes. From colonial times to today, there have been some efforts to curb the use of drugs. However, alcohol was generally not considered to be a problem. Note in your text on page 246 the paragraphs about prohibition. I can't go into that now, but I'd like you to have a very good awareness about it. Today, we use what is called the medical model when dealing with drug addiction. In general, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, the seminal book about how to deal with addiction, we would like you to know that the definition of a drug is a mind-altering substance. Does alcohol alter the mind? Yes, it does. So the rest of this lecture, you need to remember when I refer to drugs, I'm also referring to alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine because they do alter the mind. I would like you to know there are two classes of drug users. Some people abuse drugs and some people depend on drugs. There is a difference. This difference is very important. 1. Drug abusers are described as people who use a substance even when they experience negative consequences from their use. 2. Drug dependence is when people who use these drugs continue to live with the negative consequences and build a tolerance to the drug and would experience withdrawal if they stopped using the drug. In previous times, drug use was considered to be a moral failure. Thank goodness today we consider drug abuse and drug dependence to be a disease. Please read pages 250 and 251 thoroughly in your text. That will help you to understand the medical issues of drug use and drug abuse and drug dependence. There are 3 theoretical models of use and abuse. Quickly, they are addictive disease model, the behavior model, and the academic model. These are to be found on page 251 in your text. Please read them, check them out thoroughly. There are also 3 primary categories of drugs, which I will briefly describe. There are uppers, downers, and all-arounders. We go uppers, downers, and all-arounders in my business when we talk about them. Uppers are central nervous system stimulants, which speed up your function. Downers are central nervous depressions, which slow down your function. All-arounders are psychedelics, which affect the central nervous system by producing hallucinogens. Uppers are meth, cocaine, caffeine, nicotine. Downers are morphine, Vicodin, for example. All-arounders are marijuana, LSD, ecstasy, mescaline, etc. There's a lot of information for you. This is a lot of information for you to absorb in a short time. Please read your text carefully and email me if you have any questions, especially about drug use, drug abuse, and drug dependence. Your question for Chapter 11 will be fun. What do you think of the legalization of marijuana movement in Hawaii? Are you for or against it? If marijuana is legalized, should it be taxed? And what should we do with the tax revenue from those taxes? Okay, that's a good question. Until Chapter 12, which is Human Service in the Schools, aloha.